I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers stay as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state of
Welcome back to another deep dive into A Course in Miracles.
It's great to be here.
We're picking up where we left off and answering more of your questions about the Course.
Yeah, looks like we're up to lesson 58.
This one is packed with so much intensity.
It's really getting into some of the kind of central ideas of the Course.
I'm excited to jump in. I'm ready.
Yeah, me too.
Let's give a little overview of what we're going to cover today.
Okay, so the lesson 58 focuses on 5 main ideas.
All right, lay 'em on us.
Okay, and these are taken directly from the text. So
Okay.
the first one, my holiness envelops everything I see. My
Great.
holiness blesses the world.
Wow. Okay.
There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is my salvation.
Okay.
And finally, I am blessed as a son of God.
Whew, just hearing those, you could feel the weight of this lesson.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
Absolutely. And so many of you have said in questions about like how these ideas
Yeah.
play out, especially when we look at the world around us and all the things that we see.
Yeah.
Like how do we reconcile this idea of our own holiness
Right.
with the suffering and the conflict and the things that just feel so far from holy?
Right. Right. I mean, if our holiness truly envelops everything, like the lesson says,
Yeah.
then why is there so much pain and negativity in the world?
Yeah, that's a big question.
There's a really profound answer to this.
Our listener is, working their way through the Course, and they're finding that sometimes they hit these points where it's like, wait, am I getting this? Am I supposed to be further along by now? Those moments of self-doubt. And specifically, they brought up lesson 36 as being one that kind of sparked this feeling. So before we dive into their question, let's actually just hear lesson 36 straight from the Course.
Sounds good.
Okay, so it says, my holiness envelops everything I see. From my holiness does the perception of the real world come. Having forgiven, I no longer see myself as guilty. I can accept the innocence that is the truth about me. Seen through understanding eyes, the holiness of the world is all I see, for I can picture only the thoughts I hold about myself. Now, our listener writes, I'm working my way through the Course, and sometimes these lessons like this one make me feel like I should be further along in my understanding.
Yeah.
It's like I'm missing something. So I think this is something a lot of people who are engaging with the Course can relate to. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
This idea that, the lessons are talking about this inherent holiness, this, this state of being, and yet we often feel so, not there yet. Like there's this gap.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm supposed to be seeing this holiness everywhere, but I still feel kind of, messed up or behind or whatever it might be.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so interesting about this particular question is it's like, how do we bridge that gap? How do we move from feeling inadequate to actually experiencing, that holiness that the lesson is talking about?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think one of the key things that the Course emphasizes is this idea of gentle progress. Like we're not expected to just flip a switch and suddenly be enlightened beings.
Right.
It's a journey. It's a process of, peeling away those layers of judgment and fear and all those things that we've kind of built up over time. We have to forgive ourselves for all the ways that we've judged ourselves and held ourselves back, because that guilt, that judgment, that's what's preventing us from seeing clearly.
So it sounds like you're saying that guilt and judgment are almost like blinders. They're preventing us from seeing the holiness that's already present within us and in the world around us.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's such a powerful concept because it's so easy to get caught up in that self-criticism. It's like we're constantly evaluating ourselves and finding ourselves wanting.
Right, and that's what's so beautiful about the Course is that it reminds us that holiness isn't something we have to earn or achieve. It's our inherent nature. Like that line, my holiness envelops everything I see. It's not saying once I've reached a certain level of spiritual development, then my holiness will envelop everything.
Right.
It's saying that's the truth right now.
It's a starting point, not an end goal. That's a really profound shift in perspective. So for our listener and for anyone else who's struggling with that feeling of not being holy enough, the message here is to be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
Practice forgiveness, and remember that holiness isn't a destination, it's a recognition. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're exploring a concept that's pretty central to the course.
Okay, sounds good.
It's this idea of holiness.
Holiness, okay.
We're
yeah.
looking at lesson 37.
Okay.
My holiness blesses the world. All right? The perception of my holiness does not bless me alone. All right? Everyone and everything I see in its light shares in the joy it brings to me. There is nothing that is apart from this joy because there is nothing that does not share my holiness. As I recognize my own holiness, so does the holiness of the world shine forth for everyone to see. Now let's get to our listener's question. He says, I have a conflict with a family member. Pretty straightforward, right? Despite my determination to see us as connected in holiness, she is not pleasant toward me and tells others she doesn't like me. Does this mean she is apart from my holiness?
Yeah.
And you could just feel the pain in this question.
Right.
I mean, this person is clearly struggling.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, family stuff is just
Oh, the worst.
the worst sometimes.
It's so loaded.
Yeah, definitely brings up a lot of stuff. But you know what I think is interesting is how the Course is saying that holiness is just inherent in everyone, no matter what.
So even if your family member is acting in a way that seems like the opposite of holiness, the Course is saying it's not actually possible to be separate from it.
It's like, okay, imagine the sun is behind the clouds.
Okay.
It's still shining even though you can't see it.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so it's like their holiness is always there, even if their actions are kind of covering it up.
Yeah.
For now,
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because, that line in the lesson, the perception of my holiness blesses everyone. How does that apply when someone's being like straight up negative towards you?
well, it's tricky. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
But it comes down to perception, right? Like we choose how we see things. And when you choose to see your own holiness, it's like you're putting on these special glasses
Okay.
that help you see the world through that lens of holiness. You're kind of changing your own experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like the change starts with us, not with them.
Exactly. So even though your family members' actions might look like separation, they're actually just coming from the ego, which is all about fear and this false sense of who we are.
So it's not like they're choosing to be separate from holiness. It's more like they're just
Yeah, they're kind of caught up in this
misunderstanding.
misunderstanding.
Okay. So then how do we deal with that? When someone is being unkind,
Right.
how do we respond without just like letting them walk all over us?
That's where forgiveness comes in big time.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not about saying, oh, it's okay to be mean to me. It's about choosing to let go of the judgment and the anger. All that heavy stuff we hold on
Yeah,
to.
because holding on to that anger is only hurting us, not them.
Exactly.
Like, how do you forgive someone when they're still hurting you? Like, that's so tough.
It is tough. And this is where understanding the ego comes in. The Course is saying that we're all just doing the best we can with what we know, right? So your family member's unkindness is probably coming from a place of her own pain and fear, not because she wants to hurt you.
So it's like seeing their humanity even when they're not being very humane.
Right. Exactly.
But through all of this, how do we stay peaceful? How do we not let their negativity like drag us down with them?
Well, the Course reminds us that peace comes from within.
Okay.
It doesn't depend on what other people do.
So we can choose to be peaceful,
Yeah.
even when things are crazy around us.
Yeah. It's a practice. It's about constantly choosing forgiveness, choosing love, choosing to see that holiness in ourselves and everyone around us. It all starts with being willing to look past the ego's illusions and connect with who we really are. Maybe something to think about is how seeing your family member's holiness, even when she's being difficult, might change how you experience the relationship, It doesn't mean you have to like her actions, but it might change how you choose to respond to them.
That's powerful. This is lesson 38.
Okay.
There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is unlimited in its power to heal, because it is unlimited in its power to save. What is there to be saved from except illusions? And what are all illusions except false ideas about myself? My holiness undoes them all by asserting the truth about me. In the presence of my holiness, which I share with God himself, all idols vanish. So much richness just packed into those few sentences. But the question that came in from one of our listeners was, what are the idols the lesson refers to?
Yeah. What the Course is talking about is anything that we put before God, anything that we put before our true self.
It's like anything that we're giving our attention and energy to,
Yes.
that is not in alignment with that inner holiness.
Exactly. And The Course talks about these idols as substitutes.
Okay.
Substitutes for the love and the truth that we already have within us.
So it's almost like we're trying to fill a void with something outside of ourselves.
Yes.
Rather than recognizing that everything we need is already there.
That's the illusion that the Course is trying to help us see through.
These idols are part of that false narrative that
Yeah.
we've created
Right.
about who we are and what will make us happy.
Yeah.
And I think the tricky part is that anything can become an idol
Oh, yeah, for sure.
if we're not careful.
It can be our bodies. It can be our possession.
Our relationships,
Yeah.
our achievements.
Even our thoughts and beliefs.
Right.
If we're clinging to them too tightly.
It's like anything that takes us away from remembering our connection to something bigger.
Exactly.
That's an idol.
It's a distraction.
We have to first become aware of what those idols are in our own lives.
Because we can't change what we don't see,
Exactly.
So that's the first step.
And then from there,
And then we can start to gently shift our focus back to that inner light of holiness.
so to everyone listening,
Yeah.
I think that's the question we can all take away from this.
Yeah.
What might you be holding on to that's preventing you from fully experiencing your own holiness?
That's it.
We're going to be exploring Lesson 39 from the Course.
Yeah, this one's all about holiness and salvation. Pretty heady stuff.
So before we get into that, let's hear the actual lesson, Lesson 39, straight from the Course. It says, "My holiness is my salvation. Since my holiness saves me from all guilt, to recognize my holiness is to recognize my salvation. It is also to recognize the salvation of the world. Once I have accepted my holiness, nothing can make me afraid. And because I am unafraid, everyone must share in my strength and understanding, which are the gift of God to me and to the world."
Ooh.
Right? It packs a punch. Okay, so now the listener question. They ask, how would I not be afraid if I'm, say, unemployed or dealing with a serious health issue?
Yeah. That's getting real.
Right. Like, how do you square that circle? I mean, it's natural to be scared in those situations.
Totally. It's not about pretending the fear isn't there, but maybe it's about where that fear is coming from.
What do you mean?
Well, the Course talks a lot about the ego, and the ego's whole game is to keep us feeling separate, alone, vulnerable.
Okay, I'm following. So how does that tie into the fear of job loss or illness?
The ego tells us we need these things to be okay.
Yeah.
A good job, good health, that's how we measure our worth. So when those things are threatened, it's like the ego's worst nightmare.
Like our whole identity is crumbling.
Exactly. And it feeds that fear, telling us, see,
Yeah.
you're not enough, you're going to be alone, you're going to suffer.
But the Course is saying that's not the whole truth.
Right. It's saying our true self, the part of us that's holy, that's connected to everything, that's where our salvation is. And that doesn't depend on any outside thing.
Okay, I get that intellectually, but how do you actually live that, especially when something bad does happen?
That's where the practice comes in. It's about recognizing that fear, seeing those ego voices, and choosing a different perspective.
And how do we do that? What's the first step?
The Course talks a lot about forgiveness, letting go of the resentment, the blame, the anger towards the situation, towards ourselves, towards whoever. It's choosing to see things through love instead of fear.
So even something like unemployment could be an opportunity for forgiveness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a chance to forgive the fear itself, forgive the belief that we're somehow lacking or broken.
Wow. So we're not just passively accepting things, but we're actually transforming our experience of them.
Exactly. It's about remembering that we're not our bodies, we're not our jobs, we're not even our thoughts. We're something much deeper, much more connected.
And that's the holiness the Course is talking about.
Yeah. That's the source of our strength, our peace, our salvation.
And that's how we get to that line in Lesson 39 where it says, once I accepted my holiness, nothing can make me afraid.
Right. It's not that scary things stop happening, but we face them differently. We're not ruled by that fear anymore.
And because of that inner shift, we can be a source of strength for others too, right? Like it says, everyone must share in my strength and understanding.
Yeah, it ripples outwards. Our peace becomes their peace. Our forgiveness helps them forgive. It's pretty beautiful, actually.
It is. So to bring it back to our listener's question, it's not that the Course is saying to ignore real life problems, but it's offering a different way to approach them. All right. I am blessed as a son of God. Herein lies my claim to all good and only good. I am blessed as a son of God. All good things are mine because God intended them for me. I cannot suffer any loss or deprivation or pain because of who I am. My Father supports me, protects me, and directs me in all things. His care for me is infinite and is with me forever. I am eternally blessed as His son. And we got this question from a listener that said, when I talk about this idea with my friend, they point to the fact that I've lost my job and am facing eviction. They say, of course, you're suffering loss. What can I say to them?
Well, first of all, this is a very common question that comes up, and it's very understandable because we are living in this world where we see things, very much as the ego sees them. And so to the ego, losing a job and facing eviction, that is a huge loss.
It is.
But we have to remember that the ego is looking at form.
Okay.
And not substance.
Okay, so can you kind of break that down a little bit? Like, what does that mean? Loss of form, but not substance.
So, like our homes, our jobs, our cars, our money, our possessions, these are all forms. They come and they go. Sometimes we have a big house. Sometimes we have a small house.
Right.
Sometimes we have a job. Sometimes we don't. But the substance, who we are as God's son, that never changes. And that's where our focus needs to be.
Okay. So how do we actually talk to our friend about this? Because it's one thing to understand it for ourselves. It's another to try to explain it to someone who's looking at it from a very different perspective.
Right. So you can start by just acknowledging what they're saying, like, yeah, this looks really rough right now. This seems like a terrible situation. But then you can gently begin to shift the conversation and say, but what I'm learning is that my true source of security, my true source of supply isn't this job. It isn't this house.
It's something deeper.
It's something much, much deeper than that.
And it can't be taken away.
Right. And it's always there.
Okay.
So what seems like loss is really just a shift in form.
So it's not about pretending that's not happening.
Right.
It's about choosing
how you see it.
to see it differently and to act from that different place.
Because even when we're in a situation like this, where we're facing job loss or eviction, the Course doesn't tell us to just sit back and do nothing.
Right.
It actually encourages us to take action, but to do it from a place of peace.
Not from fear.
Not from fear and scarcity.
Yeah.
I have to get a job or I'm going to be homeless and die.
Right.
That's not...
It's coming from a place of scarcity.
That's not where we want to be operating from.
Right.
So it's more like, okay, I trust that my needs are met. I trust that I am taken care of.
Right.
And so I'm going to, get on the internet. I'm going to look for jobs. I'm going to
take those practical steps.
take the practical steps, but I'm going to do it from a place of peace.
Right.
Rather than panic.
And I think this situation that our listener is in, while it sounds very, very challenging, is actually a really powerful opportunity to really put those principles into practice.
Absolutely.
Because it would be easy, right? If everything was always going our way, we always had the job we wanted and the house and the money and all that, it'd be easy to say, oh yeah, I'm blessed as a son of God. But when things look like they're falling apart, that's when it's really...
That's the real test.
Put to the test.
Yeah, that's when the rubber meets the road.
Exactly.
So what can our listener do? Well, first, remember that they're not alone in this. Many students of the course have faced similar challenges, and they've found their way through.
Right.
And that inner peace, it's possible. It's not dependent on outer circumstances.
That's a good point. It's like sometimes we think, okay, I trust that my needs are met. But then when something like this happens, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Do I really?
Right.
But then that's the opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to double down on that trust.
Exactly.
Because I know that no matter what form my life takes, my true substance, who I am as a son of God, cannot be touched by this.
And, as you go about your day, remember that this concept applies to even those little moments that seem to trigger that sense of lack.
Okay.
Standing in line and it's taking forever. Or, you spill your coffee or you miss the bus.
Yeah, those little annoyances.
Yeah, those little things. See those as opportunities to practice shifting your perception to seeing the abundance that's always there.
So it's like a constant practice of
remembering who you are.
Who we really are. Yeah, that's great.
Wow, we covered a lot there.
We did. It's a lot to process, but I think it's so, so powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
Out of all of that, What do you think is the most important thing for our listeners to take away from this lesson?
I think the key takeaway is this idea of interconnectedness.
Yeah.
We are not isolated individuals struggling alone. We are all connected.
Yeah.
And our individual journeys of forgiveness and awakening, they contribute to a collective shift in consciousness.
So it's not just about our own personal enlightenment.
Right.
It's about contributing to the healing and transformation of the world.
Exactly.
So thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Lesson 58.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
And until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep discovering.
We'll see you soon.
Take care.
I woke up to a miracle today.